All right, we are at we're not the tail end, we're actually now at the middle of the Seder, but this is going to be our final video for this series. We at this point, we'll wash our hands. We will make the blessing over the matzah. We'll eat the matzah. Then we have the maror, and which is the bitter herbs, which is traditionally either horseradish or lettuce, romaine lettuce, or other things depending on your tradition. And then we will mix it all together. We have the famous Hillel sandwich, which is the matzah and the maror with a little bit of the charosis, which symbolizes the mortar that was used by the Jews in Mitzrayim, in Egypt. And the famous rabbi, the Maharal, explains the concept behind having this, like of all the things, like what's the deal, besides the fact that it's delicious. Two ideas. The first idea is that it's a specific, that it's not just enough to feel the pain, but we have to remember like a specific moment. I was in a Holocaust museum one time, and usually the way I have a very hard time relating to it. And so I really wasn't feeling it emotionally. But then I saw one picture of a little girl who was about 4 standing on a train platform with a teddy bear. And amongst all the other horrible things that were in that museum, this one picture, all of a sudden, it just it brought to mind that I had a little girl at that age. She's now a lot older, but just that one image, I was almost unconsolable, and I had to leave the museum because it's not enough. The Holocaust was terrible, but it was so horrific in a lot of ways we can't even begin to grasp it. So it's only the mind can unlock for 1 second just to see a snippet, and that oftentimes brings home the entire experience. So that's the idea. Secondly, it's sweet because, as I mentioned a few times here also, that the sweetness, a lot of times there is a certain sweetness in the suffering that we undergo. Not certainly at the time that we understand it, but the greatness of the Jewish people is that we have an appreciation and a trust that God has apportioned exactly whatever we need to bring out our excellence, to save us, whatever it might be, and in due time we'll understand how that was necessary. Then you have your meal. Then you have your benching, the blessing. Nothing gym related with that one for those that are not familiar with the Yiddish. And then there's a very famous line where we speak about that God should pour His wrath upon the nations. That's a famous thing where we open up the door. You classically would pour the cup of Elijah, and then you will open up the door and say the following line about the idea that God should essentially pay back the people that hurt us. And the interesting thing is, if you're living in a very nice neighborhood, like hopefully most of us live, it's not dangerous to open up. I've had some weird people at my front door, but hopefully it's no problem to open your front door. But you have to realize that it did mean a lot for Jews at times to just fly their door open in the middle of think about doing it today in certain parts of Europe. What kind of courage it took. So there's a concept that is written into the Haggadah, like we spoke about the idea of the blood and how that symbolizes the Jews were willing to not be afraid of living in their environment. The same idea is true, that we open up the door and we essentially say, tonight God is watching us. He's guarding us. It's called the night where God guards us, and we're not afraid. And the physical action of doing something to show that we are proud of who we are, and we have a faith that it will all be okay no matter what the current situation is very important for us. And then we finish up the Hallel, and we say the Hallel, which is the appreciation, kind of continuing to discuss how great it was what God did for us and the opportunity that's provided for us. And then we finish with the very famous line about L'Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim, that we should all eventually be in Jerusalem, which is fantastic. That's how it actually starts. Also, if you recall, we say that now we're here, now we're slaves, next year we should be in Jerusalem, and next year we should be free. And the idea is, of course, that you have to keep long-term vision. You have to always look back at where you started and figure out, where did I finish, and the two should hopefully be matching in terms of, this is where I wanted to go, and this is where this is where I ended up. Two other things just for the Seder plate for those that are interested. What is the zroa? That's the lamb shake, famously. That's a remembrance of in the times of the temple when we would bring our sacrifice. Nowadays, we do not sacrifice anything. So if someone suggests, let's sacrifice something, maybe you should send them to another Seder. But whatever. And the other idea was traditionally the egg and the egg symbolizes a certain other sacrifice, which in the times of the temple. So we had to satiate ourselves with the matzah. I missed out the afikomen. The afikomen is the last thing that we eat at the end of the meal. Usually, traditionally, depending on your tradition, either the kids steal it and the father has to find it, or the kids will take it. The father has to bribe them back to keep them interested until the end of the meal. But the idea is that the afikomen, the remnants of the Passover offering, that should leave us full. And so, if you had your large family and some of the people in your party were large, either in number or in girth, that might not fill them up, one lamb. So they would bring a second offering to basically to eat, and then that would be what would fill them up. Okay, I think that's the end of the party. So I wish everyone a very meaningful Passover. I hope you found this to be valuable. Please share this with anybody that you think would like this or would like some more insights or meaning into their Seder. And next year in Jerusalem. Thank you.